Okay, great. Gosh, it's such an honor and thrill to be here presenting to all of you. I don't know what I was thinking when I said 25 years of stereoscopy that I could do it in 10 or 25 slides, or it's 10 or 25 images. I have many more, but that's because 10 to 25 images that then become other things. So I'm going to move through my imagery kind of quickly. I know that because there's a recording, people can go back if they want to, but this is taking a departure from a lot of talks that I've given on my TwinScope project. People are familiar. Yes, I make a stereoscope, but I'm a photographer and an artist first and foremost, and I'm very, very passionate about stereoscopy and highly inspired by the historic images that came before me and a lot of the work that you guys are doing now. So let's begin. I I do recommend you have anaglyph glasses with you. About half the presentation's anaglyph. You have a viewer, okay. It's free viewing on a phone is going to be all right because the images are full size when they're paired. So this is in my studio. You see a variety of things behind me, some of which I'll talk about, but I work across different disciplines using stereoscopy to talk about the importance of multiple perspectives and how we can all benefit by getting away from our single view of the world. So it's kind of a metaphor, a way to say, let's value other people's perspectives too. I call it twin studies because I'm a twin. So I thought I'd start with the Twin Studies Center. This is a ChaCha image made at Cal State Fullerton. And I really can't talk about my work without bringing up my twin at least a little bit. She has strabismus, so her eyes don't see at the same, they're not looking in the same direction at the same time. You can see here when we were kids how evident that is. I didn't understand that growing up. But in 2000, we started parallel journeys in 3D. She started vision therapy to acquire depth perception, and I found my first stereoscope at the Kalamazoo Antiques Market. And so we are launching the presentation from here with this stereoscope, which I've since come to learn is a vision training stereoscope. So how fitting was that? I bought a second one for my twin sister so she could use it for her vision training. I first started shooting with the Sputnik. It's a great medium format film camera, but it does have some issues. If you shoot with the Sputnik, you're familiar. Here's a very early image right after I got the first stereoscope and got the camera. I put that all together and started making my own. So this is around 2001. I'm holding this Sputnik camera and I've got a Vivitar 283 that's firing the light off the ceiling and it's bouncing down. This is an accidental double exposure. I call this piece Origin Story because it marks that time when Ronnie and I first started our parallel journeys in 3D. So because it's a film camera, I didn't realize, but I accidentally double exposed the film. I'd taken a portrait of my twin sister like a couple weeks beforehand, and then I had, my own picture in the studio here. So it's pretty phenomenal and mysterious to me. I go back to this a lot. Many people know this image. It's my red twin, blue twin series that photographed us in 2010. Here's the contact sheet from that shoot. So I didn't know what I was doing when I went into my red parlor of the historic home, except I wanted us both to wear a blue shirt. And I said to Ronnie, stare at the wall just like I'm doing. Well, she took it literally and was actually doing it just like I was doing, such that I could put our faces side by side and then blend us together in 3D. So I presented this as a 13 by 19 framed picture. Again, this wasn't it wasn't what I sought to do originally. I did want to make 3D images, but I thought they'd be separate. So you pick up that lenticular mirror stereoscope, and then you can stand in front of the image and you see our faces go back and forth. And if you get that sweet spot, they merge together into one image with depth. So this is going back to 2010. And at that time, I didn't have a stereoscope of my own. I didn't make a stereoscope. So I was using these little plastic lorgnettes. This is a tea box that I refashioned into, oh gosh, what a clever. I'm just recalling this now because you could push the faces and there was like a little battery operated lights behind each of those boxes. So it had more interactivity than just lifting out the little lorgnette viewer. Um, Yeah, I got criticized in grad school for this, for it being so twee. And okay, it is kind of, but what does twee mean anyway? Um, Fast forward 7 years, I wanted to make stereographs based on some of the beautiful stereographs that I was familiar with, the historical ones, and case images like the ambrotype or daguerreotype that had these like doors that you open, so there's some mystery. So you're looking at the front of the stereograph and the back side of it. And then they opened up like this, so you could like prop them up on the table too, and just have some fun. But this was something I came to, it was an experiment, I guess, because I didn't want to kill the suede around the images, and that suede was like the effect was killed by putting it into the plastic sleeves that we protect our stereographs with. So the doors were kind of practical because I wanted to protect that suede. And here is the same stereograph hanging above my TwinScope viewer. So you can pick it up at the wall and then bring the faces together this way. Okay, this image I showed just because I was thinking well before those red twin, blue twin stereographs about like, what do you do when you have the image, but you want the card mount to be interesting? What do you do with the card mount? Because I was always into printing my images. And I grabbed this image and scanned it along with a couple other ones. And I started like putting text over my images in Photoshop. And I like these worn corners. This is the same time I did the red twin, blue twin portraits in 2010. So I've got these like worn corners that are from the original stereographs that I'd scanned. And I placed this series called The Night, going out to college parties. I was in grad school 12 years after my undergrad degree. I went back to grad school, and in the intervening time, I was a professional photographer doing a lot of editorial work. Anyway, so this is also a double exposure. I'm pretty certain of it. If you see the little red man over the guy's shoulder, that's the band playing. And I think I must have double exposed it because this guy's looking at the band, but then he appears behind. So tricky. I don't know what's going on with that. Okay, so this series called The Night, I made my first book in 2010, but I never actually finished it. So it's thrilling to go through my archive for this presentation and recall that, yeah, I got to finish this book. It has well, you can see how it works. And then I displayed the images. Back then, again, I didn't have a TwinScope viewer. I just had these lorgnettes, which was really difficult for people to use these, and I knew they weren't getting the same wonderful, clear view that you would have if you used a Holmes stereoscope. This series got me thinking about, God, what would be a really great like a exhibition stereoscope? Right after grad school in 2011, I proposed to the Onondaga Historical Association Museum in Syracuse that working from their collection of 600 plus stereographs, I produce an exhibition on the history of stereographs. I'd never done a museum exhibition before, and I didn't know a whole lot about the history of stereographs either, but I spent about a year and a half putting this exhibition together and using with no budget what they had available, like the oak cabinetry. But I bring this up today because I really got to know stereographs, all kinds of stereographs, and they have been very inspirational to me. Center view top, you see a TwinScope viewer here, and then on the right, I'm holding, I have a slim version without the eye cups, so I'm looking at stereographs. And many of you guys, you're familiar with these. I wasn't at the time, but again, the research brought me really close to the variety of stereographs available. And prior to Nancy's presentation, I thought I would throw this one in here. This is how I displayed the tissue views. I brought a light box from home and had a little button there like turn the light box on and off. Oh, and they had all these viewers in their collection. So here's without the light on and with the light on, obviously not in 3D. The full moon was always really appealing view to me. So I scanned this image, and in another project called Persistence of Vision, which is about blindness kind of and navigating the unknown, I made this image called Full Moon. I scanned that full moon stereograph. Credit to the photographer is on the work right there, and printed it on a transparency paper, and there's a light box inside there. So it's in a dark gallery with a bunch of other work that's really dark, and you get that full impression of the moon, which also suggested eyes to me. Moving forward to 2019, I applied for a local grant in my hometown of Kalamazoo to go into the archives in my city and bring out historic views that I knew were there by local photographers from the 1880s. The series of exhibitions started with what's called Our City at the Kalamazoo Public Library. The library did not have any stereographs except one, but they had a treasure trove of glass stereo negatives by a local photographer, Wallace White, and I was floored to find these, but obviously, I mean, I didn't know how do you display a glass negative? They're so fragile and they're negative. They're not only the tones are reversed, but the left and the right orientation is reversed as well. So here's one of the negatives, and the library let me come in and set up a desk there, and I scanned those glass negatives and I transposed the images. And then I went about a really tireless testing to make some inkjet prints myself. And sharpening was a real factor, of course. I mean, there were so many things that went into it. How do you make the image look really good with the magnification of the lens, which is that +5 diopter, because you don't want to see pixels and whatnot. So you can see how much work that was. Here's one of the images, and I get some critique for the window violations, but I'm just gonna say I don't mind a window violation if it tells us something about how we see. For instance, the image on the left-hand side has the chair in it on the porch, and the image on the right doesn't have it. But I love how our brains fill in the information from each left and right image. And my new scans of those glass negatives, they showed us what was on the all the detail that was on the awnings there that wasn't available to the naked eye. So um, I made positives based on the photographer's orange cards that he sold in the community. And the show is up for 1 month in 2019, and it's still there today. The library loved it. They wanted to keep it up in the local history room. So if you're in Kalamazoo, I invite you to call on me and also go up to the local history room at the Kalamazoo Public Library downtown. Originally, for that month, I displayed the glass negatives themselves, or at least a handful of them, in the photographer's advertisement. Again, I wanted to credit the photographer always, whoever I'm working with, whether they're deceased collaborator or not. And these glass views inspired me to make my own glass views. These are not on glass, but I've got a series of ChaCha images that I made of poppies. This was a project that I photographed over 1 week, the arc of lifespan of a poppy. The project was called Virus Romance because this was during the pandemic. And I have a die cutter machine, the Curio. And with the Curio machine, you can make an Illustrator file like this. Put your cut lines on it. The die cutter will cut it out. I mean, I'm kind of oversimplifying because your die cutter only will cut up to 2-ply mat board, and I also had to cut backboard, which is 4-ply. And I used gaffer tape around the edges and tested a bunch of different kinds of glass. I mean, really to create a series of about a dozen of these. They're on my website. A lot of these projects are. And then I took a foray into finishing a book finally. Virus Romance, the book. It's an accordion fold book that I show with a slim viewer in the museum. And turning now towards pretty close to where I am today, my twin Ronnie, she's like, why don't you make anaglyphs? I get it with the side by side, but you're the blue twin, I'm the red twin. It's already in there. So all right, this is us. We had an artist residency in an old paper mill in 2022. And yeah, the anaglyphs should come through pretty well. So we're touring the mill, and the images, I first presented them at the conclusion of the residency, projected 9 feet high in a room, which was awesome because you could feel like you were going into that space. It was kind of life size and really cool. I knew that other galleries or exhibition opportunities wouldn't allow projection necessarily, so I made prints. Hi, Max. This is a NSA convention a few years ago. I print on matte paper, and I have to go in and do a lot of tweaking with the ghosting. I made a tiny little handheld book of this imagery too, and here's just one picture of it, but this was super fun to think about how to integrate the glasses. So you just slide them out of that pocket. Here's the work framed. Okay, this central image I want to point out real quick. This was an old pipe in the mill, and I call that image stereopsis because, well, you know what that means. But this one is the same image realized as a side-by-side pair. This I call strabismus because, like my twin sister's eye condition, the two black dots are slightly displaced. It's like how her eyes don't look in the same direction. And I put this on display. I matted it such that the white matte area is like tall and at eye level, so maybe it's suggesting the figure or a body. And this woman here, she's picked up the TwinScope viewer and she's kind of gone down the row there with all these like stereograph size images. And now you can see how this work from inside the paper mill, how this stereo photography fits in with everything else. Okay, now we are just about 2 months ago, and I'm so excited. The latest thing I'm doing now is this twin rig. After so many years of ChaCha, of non-moving, well, flowers move. So shooting those flowers was really tough to do the ChaCha with my puppies. But I really wanted a twin rig. I tried other cameras and wasn't happy with the quality. But I reached out to George Semelis. Hi, George. Thank you so much for helping me figure out how, what components I needed. I shoot with a Nikon Z6 II for my assignment photography. I'm still a working photographer. So I had two of them. And when I bought the second camera a couple of years ago, I really wanted to twin them then, but I've finally, up to a couple of months ago, have done it because I got an assignment to photograph a musician in Brooklyn. She flew me out. She wanted 3D photography and found me on the internet when she searched stereo photography. Um, so her name is Sophie Hunter, and this is a preview. She hasn't released the album yet. So shh, you guys are seeing it first. I'm not sure which images she'll pick, but I'll just share a few, and this is how my presentation concludes. Am I okay on time, or I don't know, 15 minutes? I think that I'm probably at max, so I'll go through these quickly. This is anaglyph. This is color anaglyph, which I hadn't tried before, and I've been having a lot of fun mixing it up. Okay, this one's probably going to hurt your eyes at first, but if you take the glasses off, this one here, you'll see what I was doing. The artist's album is called Stereoscope because she tells me that she feels like there's two sides of herself and she's trying to reconcile them with this album. And she was really inspired by her grandma's wedding photography. Her grandparents' wedding photography was shot with a stereo realist. So she has a realist set and she's kind of dressing in that, the wedding attire. And I wanted to start stretching the idea of using two colors in two images. This is a blinker, which if you look like blink one eye and then the other with the anaglyph glasses, you see each channel separately, a blinker or a blinky. So we've gone outside of 3D photography at this point. But I'm really pushing myself. We conclude again at the Kalamazoo Antiques Market. There's my first stereoscope on the wall, that red stereoscope up there. And there's a story in the red frame that I wrote about finding the first stereoscope, how it led to my TwinScope viewer below, and the Kalamazoo view is on the left-hand side here. And full circle moment for real because I actually bought that first stereoscope at the Antiques Market, and now I work at the Antiques Market one Sunday a month as of like 3 months ago. And I sell stereographs at the front desk. So I'm the stereo girl in the 3D market where it all began for me. And actually, Sunday's my shift. So I told them I couldn't work today because I'm doing this. And so it's just perfect. But I'm so glad to be here with you. And that concludes my presentation. I hope I didn't go over. Thank you so much.